What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best Path of Exile 2 builds in 2025. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for both leveling and end game. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what Atlas passive should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. And before we continue, thanks to the Time Saver. They are a pro website that provides POE 2 services like cheap currency, custom builds, boosting and top quality items, orbs and much more. They also have a lot of comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to check them out by using my link in the description. This setup is a very new version of one of the best builds in the game, the Lightning Arrow Deadeye. However, unlike in that build, in this one we are using the Ice Shot in the combination with the Lightning Rod and a Blink, which will give us this insane mobility and speed farming potential. What I like most about this setup is that we can simply spam one single skill and pretty much destroy tier 16 maps and reach up to 5 million DPS because of how many buffs we have working in the background. Like you can see from the gameplay, we are basically deleting enemies in split seconds. And on top of this, we can also delete bosses, by us having also a very high boss damage from using the Lightning Rod and the Orb of Storms. At some point in the later game, some lowered gear players might run into a mana problem, but lucky for us, the Ranger has many tools to address this problem. And with the optimized gear, we need nothing more than a single stat roll on our weapon or gear to completely solve this issue. So if you don't mind using only from 1 to 2 skills and completely speed clearing through hundreds of enemies in few seconds, then let's get right into it. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the Ranger and our ascendancy is the Deadeye. Then for the first skill we have the Ice Shot with the support gems such as the Primal Armament, Martial Tempo, Cold Infusion, Ricochet and the Heft. Then second we get the Lightning Rod with a Scatter Shot, Concentrated Effect, Elemental Focus and the Close Combat. Then next we got the Orb of Storms with the Chain, Deep Freeze and the Fount of Mana. Next we have the Herald of the Thunder with the Execute and Elemental Focus. Next up we have the Herald of the Ice with the Long Shot, Cold Penetration, Magnified Effect and the Cold Mastery. Next we got Wind Dancer with the Cannibalism, Clarity and Herbalism. Next we have the Bow Shot with the Life Drain, Soul Thief, Wind Wave and the Blind. And finally for the last two we are using the Blink and the Mana Remnants with no support gems. Most of this setup is structured around using the Ice Shot and the Bow Shot to delete enemies in seconds, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their size and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and by the way our Javel placement is also important, so that's why we here have these type of lines. So then with that said, we want to start at this evasion node, and then go like this while also taking the cat-like agility. Then next we keep on going and take both of these, so master fletching and the freedom of movement. Then from here we want to go up here and then go to the left side, and then get all of these nodes. Then afterwards we circle back and now go until the end and take this feathered fletching. And from this point and onwards you can just unlock all the other nodes in whatever order you prefer. Also, when we take a look at this outline, you may think that we waste a lot of points just to get this Mind Over Matter keystone. However, this is a big part of our defense, as we are already doing insane amount of damage, mainly from our DPS nodes and the weapon and gear choices, so we can easily afford to do this. I did a lot of testing and it was very hard to survive tier 16 maps. So after I talked with a bunch of players and did testing, we figured out that going a bit overboard and taking the Mind Over Matter was a huge life changer for this specific build. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Gathering Winds, as it increases your movement and attack speed, while also giving you a huge evasion boost. Then second we get the Point Blank, which this time will increase your damage to the close proximity targets. Then next we wanna get the Endless Munitions, as it increases both your clear speed and single target damage. The Territorial is usually pretty hard, but it's definitely worth doing it as soon as you can, as this will give us a huge DPS boost. And then finally we want to get the Wind Ward, as especially when doing higher tier maps and content, you will need to get all the damage reduction that you can. Next up we have our Atlas passives, And the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or in rituals. So when we start, we wanna first of all go to the right side and get all of these nodes, and then keep on going down until you get to this keystone called the Deadly Evolution. And then from this point and onwards, you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you want. But then on top of this, we have even more passives. Which order in which you unlock them doesn't really matter, so again it's up to you. And this is how it should look like for the ritual. Then next we have Delirium. Then third we have bosses, and then on top of that we have the pinnacle bosses. Then next we also have our expedition setup, and then finally our breach setup. Then in the next part we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Widow Veil bow with insane bonus stats, which gives us from 150 to 200% increased bonus, which is gained from equipping a quiver. To be honest, this is one of the biggest reasons of how we can get to 5 million DPS, and why you can see that crazy gameplay of one-shotting enemies. However, no matter what bow you use, this build will still function, but just not to the insane level that I can. So then for the bow stats, you want to look for attack speed, critical chance bonus, lightning damage, and pretty much anything else that will boost our DPS. And then for our offhand, we got the primed quiver, which this time is quite important. So with this we get increased attack speed, and for bonus stats we want to go with adds cold damage to attacks, more accuracy, increased projectile speed, plus levels to all projectile skills, even more increased attack speed and more to dexterity. Then for the helmet we have the Expert Hunter Hood with evasion, and for more we want even more evasion and increased evasion. Then also max mana and fire and cold resistance. Then for the chest we got the Queen of the Forest with evasion, and for its stats we get increased evasion, fire, cold and lightning resistance. Also, we get increased movement speed per every 500 evasion. This is yet again the reason of why we build our evasion so high. However, again this is not required, so if you can afford this, then look for any other chest piece with similar stats. Then for the belt we have the utility belt with 20% quicker flask recovery, more evasion and max life, as well as fire and cold resistance. Then for gloves we got the Hand of the Wisdom and action. Same thing applies, if you don't want it, then just get anything else. But if I would say to get at least one of these expensive items, then this would be the one, as because of these gloves we want to stack our intelligence or dexterity as high as possible. And then for bonus stats we want dexterity, intelligence, increased attack speed and adds lightning damage to attacks. Then for boots we're using the Expert Lizard Scale boots with evasion. And for bonus stats we get more evasion, cold and lightning resistance, as well as stun threshold. This is one of the only builds where we don't want movement speed on the boots, because our chest piece will give us movement speed from evasion, and at the same time disable any other movement speed modifier. In the endgame you will get more speed than any basic speed boots, so of course if you can then get this item, but if you can't then go with any basic chest, and then just pick the movement speed on the boots. Then for the first ring we got the Ruby ring with the fire resistance, and for more we got evasion, max mana, intelligence and increased mana regeneration rate. While for the second one we have the prismatic ring, with percentage to all elemental resistances. And for more we got increased cold damage, max mana, intelligence and lightning and chaos resistance. And then finally for the amulet we got the Crimson Amulet with the life regen per second. And for more we want max energy shield, max life, max mana, intelligence, more to all elemental resistances and chaos resistance. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is a starter setup which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And as you can see from the gameplay, this is one of the easiest and simplest builds in the game. So our main rotation is just to spam the ice shot and the bow shot for easy monster kills, which are most of our targets. But then specifically for bosses you can as well place down Orb of Storms, and then spam the ice shot and the lightning rod. This will give you a great buff and insane amount of shock lightning damage for single targets. And finally, if you're low geared and run into a mana problem, especially against bosses, then try to get one Javel with mana on kill, or mana on kill from the quiver. And as well, this might sound obvious, especially at the beginning, when you might not have yet unlocked mana on kill, but if you run out of mana then just simply cast less skills. And wait, you will be doing very high damage anyways, so casting few less skills won't really impact the gameplay that much. But it may reduce your mana consumption, especially if you're under geared or under leveled. This setup's main focus is to lock down your enemies with quick freezes that last a long time. Even bosses are vulnerable to being frozen, and we can just lay down insane amount of DPS while they're stuck doing no damage. Your main gameplay loop will revolve around using the Ice Strike to close the gap between the enemies. Then drop the Tempest Belt to help you do more damage, and then activate your Charged Staff, Ice Strike and the Shattering Palm. If you're looking for the most powerful monk build that freezes and builds upon insane attack speed and cold damage, then this is the one for you. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the monk, and our ascendancy is the invoker. Then for the first skill we have the Ice Strike with support gems such as the Cold Infusion, Martial Tempo, Crescendo, Primal, Armament and Inspiration. Then second we got the Shattering Palm with Execute, Blind and the Ice Bite. Then next we got the Herald of the Ice with Magnified Effect, Cold Mastery and Elemental Focus. Next we have the Ghost Dance with the Fast Forward and Clarity. Next up we have the Charged Staff with the Perpetual Charge, Persistence and Maim. Then for one of the last ones we got the Unbound Avatar with Fire Mastery and the Lightning Mastery. Then next we have the Charge Infusion with no support gems. Next up we got the Tempest Belt with Rage, Heavy Swing, Glacianation and Overabundance. Then for one of the last ones we have the Wind Dancer with Culling Strike, Cannibalism and Vitality. And finally for the last one we are using the Combat Frenzy with Profusion and Precision. Most of this setup is structured around using the Ice Strike and the Tempest Belt to delete enemies in split seconds. So we use gems and skills that will support and increase their speed and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree. And if you're interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at the skill speed node. Then go like this until we get these three, so Flow like Water, Mindful Awareness and the Step like Mist. Then next we keep continuing going like this, and take all of these, so the Flow State, Crashing Wave, then also Moment of Truth and finally the Conservative Casting. Next we move forwards until we are here, and then we take the Killer Instinct and the Tenfold Attacks. Then next we now take the left side and keep going until this half circle, while on our way taking all of these blue nodes, as well as the Resonance Keystone, and then stopping at this Deep Trance node. Then now we want to circle back a little, and keep going up top until we get to this Spectral Ward. Then afterwards we go till the end, and now take the right side, and then get all of these nodes that you can see right here. And then finally from this point and onwards you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for Ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Lead Me Through the Grace, then second get and Protect Me from Harm, then third we want to get I Am the Blizzard, and then finally for the last one we want an I Shall Rage. Next up we have our Atlas passives, and the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that will spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or in rituals. Our Ice Strike Monk build is also great at single target DPS, so we can also spend a bit points into farming boss maps or the essences. Our Monk build is also great at single target DPS, so we can also spend a bit points into farming boss maps or the essences. So when we start we want to first of all get to this bottom right side like this, then from here we can go until we get all the way to this point. Then next we get back to the middle and this time take the bottom left side, and get all of these passives until this circle. And then when all of these are done, then we go again to the middle, and this time take the middle part, and unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Expert Slicing Quarterstaff with the bonus stats like the increased physical damage, adds more to physical damage, more accuracy, increased crit chance and attack speed. Then for the helmet we have the Expert Veiled Mask with evasion and energy shield. And for extras we want more increased evasion and energy shield. Then also max life and mana. And finally any type of resistance like fire or cold. Then for chest we have the Expert Scalper's Jacket with evasion and energy shield. And for more we want evasion rating, max energy shield, reduced attribute requirements and chaos resistance. Then for the belt we have the utility belt with 20% quicker flask recovery. And for bonus stats we want max life, cold and lightning resistance. Then for the gloves we got the advanced spiral warp with max life, evasion and energy shield, increased attack speed and fire and cold resistance. Then for boots we're using the Expert Frayed Shoes with evasion and energy shield. And for more we for sure want the increased movement speed, then also max life and mana, and if possible then lightning resistance. Then for our first and second ring, we got the same one. So we are going with the Amethyst ring, as its base stat gives chaos resistance. And as chaos resistance is not that easy to get, so this is the best place to get free resistance. And then for more we want accuracy, more dexterity and more intelligence. And then finally for amulet we got the Azure amulet with increased mana regen. And for more we need accuracy, plus more levels to all spell skills and cold or lightning resistance. No matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is the starter setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work, and I will show you 2 rotations. So first up we have a very basic rotation, which is meant to clear big monster groups and just weak enemies. So all that we want to do is use the Shattering Palm and then follow that up with the Ice Strikes. The Shattering Palm in this case will act as the first engage mobility tool and to increase our crit rate, so then we can simply spam the Ice Strikes and obliterate enemies in few seconds. Or then the second rotation we mainly use against single targets and bosses. So this time we want to start with using the Ice Strike 4 times. Then next we use the Tempest Belt. Then afterwards 4 more Ice Strikes. Then Charge Staff. Then again 1 more Tempest Belt. And now finally you can keep spamming the Ice Strikes as much as possible. The main idea behind this is to use the Tempest Belt as a buffing tool, because it gives us a lot of damage and some extra attack range buff, so then we can use our Ice Strikes and the Charge Staff as our main DPS skills, and then just rinse and repeat. This build is extremely powerful, so no matter what you do, if you build it right, then you will be doing crazy amount of damage numbers. But if you wanted to know the most optimized skill rotation, then here they are. This setup's main playstyle is built around using the Tree Dragon Mask, which will allow our Lightning Warp to build up freeze in order to proc the cast on freeze with the Lightning Conduit, which will do massive amounts of AoE damage due to the natural shocked ground which is provided by our Lightning Warp, Eldritch Battery and many more to increase our damage and convert all of our shields to mana. Our build will be very mana hungry, but because of our setup we are going to be easily fixing this problem and increasing our AoE damage at the same time. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the sorceress, and our ascendancy is the Stormweaver. Then for the first skill we have the Lightning Warp with the support gems called the Overcharge, Lightning Exposure, Glaciation, Magnified Effect and Inspiration. Then second we got the Archmage with the Lightning Exposure. Then next we get the Ball Lightning with the Arcane Tempo, Unleash, Scatter Shot and Acceleration. Next we have the Lightning Conduit with the Elemental Focus, Ambush, Super Critical and Inevitable Critical. Next up we have the Conductivity with the Heightened Curse and the Persistence. Next we get the Mana Tempest with the Murderous Intent and Premeditation. Next we got Sigil of Power with no support gems. And finally for the last one we are using the Cast on Freeze with the Lightning Conduit, Impetus, Energy Retention and Shock Siphon. Most of this setup is structured around using the Lightning Warp and the Lightning Conduit to delete enemies in seconds, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this energy shield node, and then go like this while grabbing all of these. So pure energy, rapid recharge, mana blessing and the dampening shield. Then next we want to go to right and get both of these, as well as getting the alternating current. Then from here we now want to circle back a little and keep going up until this point, and then now turn to left. Then next we keep going until we get to the keystone called the Mind Over Matter, and then also get most of these nodes called the Touch Arcane, All Natural and Desensitization. Next we wanna circle back a little to the point where we left off last time, and now again keep going until we get to the end, and now go to right. And then from here we can just unlock all the other nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for our Ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Strike twice, then second get the Constant Gale, then third now we want to get the Force of Will, and then finally for the last one we want the Scoring Winds. Next up we have our Atlas passives, And the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or in rituals. So when we start, we wanna first of all go to the right side and get all of these nodes, and then keep going down until you get to this keystone called the Deadly Evolution. Then from here we circle back a little, and this time keep going up until we get to the second keystone called the Unstable Energies. And then from this point and onwards, you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. But then on top of this, we also have more passives. Which order you unlock them doesn't really matter, so again it's up to you. So this is how it should look like for the ritual. Then next we have the Delirium. Then third we have the bosses, and then on top of that we have the Pinnacle bosses. Then next we also have our expedition setup, and then finally our breach setup. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Attuned Wand with the mana drain, and for bonus stats we want increased spell damage, max mana, more levels to lightning spells, increased mana regen, and gain mana per every kill. Also we get an offhand called the Advanced Crystal Focus with the Energy Shield. And for more we need increased spell damage, fire and cold resistance. Then for the helmet we have the 3 dragons with the Evasion and Energy Shield. As I previously said, to achieve the highest DPS you will need this item, as his special ability is that now lightning damage from hits will contribute to the freeze, in order to proc our cast on freeze with the Lightning Conduit. At the start, this item of course is not required, but if you wanna deal insane amount of damage like you saw from the gameplay, then you will definitely wanna acquire it as soon as possible. Then for the chest we have the Expert's Hexer's Robe with the Energy Shield. And for more we want even more Energy Shield, max life, intelligence and fire resistance. Then for the belt we have the Plate Belt with armor. And for more we want even more armor, max life, chaos and cold resistance. Getting just one item with a little bit of armor will help a lot with the damage mitigation. My damage taken from physical attacks went from 0 to 10% when I just equipped a 400 armor belt, so I definitely recommend it. Then for the gloves we got the Advanced Interested Gloves with the Energy Shield. And for more we want even more Energy Shield, max mana, fire and lightning resistance. Then for boots we're using the Expert Feathered Sandals with the Energy Shield. And for more we got increased movement speed, max mana, intelligence, fire and lightning resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Sapphire Ring with the cold resistance. And for more we need max mana, increased cast speed, intelligence and more percentage to all elemental resistances. While then on the second one we have the Prismatic Ring with the percentage to all elemental resistances. And for more we want max mana and life, increased cast speed, intelligence and even more percentage to all elemental resistances. And then finally for the amulet we got the Everlasting Gaze. This build is built around the mana as it scales the strongest for our DPS due to the Archmage. So again, this amulet is the best in slot but not required. At the endgame, you might run into a mana problem if you're low geared, but if you wanna infinitely cast the lightning without even losing mana, then this is the item for you. No matter what gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is a starter setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And I will give you 2 rotations. So first of all, for mapping and weak enemies, we want to build our Lightning Warp to build Freeze. So then we could proc our cast on Freeze with the Lightning Conduit. And therefore, our quick spammy rotation is just to use the Lightning Warp and the Ball Lightning, or perhaps the Lightning Conduit. And because of the cast on Freeze buildup, we are going to be using just 1 or 2 skills, but at the same time activating even more in the background. And that is how we get so many projectiles at the same time. And then second, we get our boss rotation, which a lot of times can even do a one-shot. So this time we want to start our rotation by activating the Power Sigil, and then the Mana Tempest. And only then you want to use the Lightning Warp, and then from here again you can begin spamming with the Lightning Conduit and the Conductivity Curse. We wanted to place down our preparation skills and the Lightning Warp to have our Shock Ground activated, as the damage from the Lightning Conduit is very dependent on the amount of shock from our shocked ground. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my top 3 best builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.